fluffy and hot.
That's right. Just hold that screen up way too long. So I just sit there waiting for it to evaporate, disappear, dissolve. You know what I mean. Good morning, people. It is Monday, August 29th, 2022. Got a short one today. I have so much I got to do. And just testing things out here. Don't have a guest today. Do not have a guest host. So this is going to be a short one. I have a couple of gigs I got to get to today, daytime gigs at the VA and things like that. And spent the weekend trying to upgrade the equipment here in the studio and probably going to be doing it most of this week. Not sure how reliable things are going to go. I've been having some major technical glitches with machinery here. Things shutting off mysteriously on their own, trying to find the causes of that, and upgrading at the same time as trying to resolve all these issues. Just want to say that the fundraiser for Christine is still in effect. The total now, and the URL is across the bottom of the screen right now. The total now is at $21,136. Still need almost $4,000 to meet the original goal. So please don't stop giving if you can. As I mentioned, no guest today, no guest host today. It's going to be a very short one. I'm going to be out of here probably in an hour or even less. Just had to stop in to make sure things are actually still working, and we'll see how things go. We are reaching that point, folks. I don't, I'm going to talk politics, and I don't give a shit if it pisses people off or not. We're at the point of make or break with Trump not being indicted yet, which is unbelievable that he has not been indicted yet. He declared war on the United States of America on Saturday, and nobody even noticed, or nobody who should notice. I'm talking about the Department of Justice, maybe the FBI, um, anybody who's responsible, National Guard, the Pentagon. Donald Trump declared war on the United States of America on Truth Social on Saturday. He used that word. This is war. And he promised to destroy Joe Biden and the quote unquote deep state. What he means the by deep state, he means the United States government. This was his promise, this was his declaration. That's no small thing. Then his thugs are out suggesting that, not suggesting, they're coming right out and inciting that if he is indicted or prosecuted, there will be riots in the streets. Now that's not a prediction. That is an incitement. That's a call to arms to terrorists to say if he is held accountable to the same standard of justice you or I would be, that they will have a revolution. And you cannot let that deter the Department of Justice from prosecuting a guy. Imagine Al Capone, John Gotti, saying, if you indict me, if you arrest me, I'm going to start a war in your country. Would we have allowed that to happen and say, oh, well, then never mind, we won't prosecute you? This is where we're at. A couple of years ago, before January 6th, I, on Facebook, because I was predominantly on Facebook at the time, wasn't doing much on Twitter at all. I put out to friends because most of my people on Facebook were lifelong friends, people I've known 40, 50 years or more. And a lot of them are Trumpers, believe it or not. And I said, if Donald Trump asked you to kill me, would you do it? Very close friends could not, because it was in public, could not say no. They couldn't, with a simple yes or no question, would you kill me for Donald Trump? People were very close to me, could not say no, I would not, because it was in public and they're afraid of the perception that they're not completely on the Trump train, afraid to admit they wouldn't kill their friend for the cult leader in public. Now, offline, some of them said, oh, of course I wouldn't. No, I need you to say that in public. You can't say it in public. There's a problem here. Don't you see what the problem is? Well, a lot of people thought that was ridiculous. It was ridiculed. Of course, Trump would never ask me to kill you. That's just silly. But then January 6th came, and I felt validated. I said, well, basically, he was asking you to kill for him on that day. And if that meant me or anybody who got in his way, he wanted you to do it. Even he asked you to kill his vice president for him. He asked you to murder his most supportive ally because he stopped going along with the bullshit at that moment. Murder him, hang Mike Pence, and he was fine with that, and is still fine with that to this day. Well, Saturday he asked you to go to war for him, which means kill your neighbors, kill anybody who is not on the Trump train, and still you can't say you would not do that for him in public. Why? What has this man ever done for you to allow that kind of bullshit to go on? We're at that place, folks. Donald Trump is asking you to kill your neighbors, kill your friends for him. He's asking you to go to war to save his fat, stupid, corrupt ass. Are you going to do it? Do you have the courage to stand up to somebody who really is not anybody to be frightened of? Do you have the courage to stand up to him and say, no, go fuck yourself, you fat bastard. I'm not killing my friends for you. Or will you go along with his war to save Donald Trump? It's not about you. Again, what has he ever done for you? What has he ever done for the people of America? You say he loves America. What has he done that hasn't been self-serving for himself and not for you? Now, I get accused of all the time of, you know, being far left, which I'm not, or a shill for the Democrats, which I'm not. I see people commenting on social media. Both parties are corrupt. I've always been a person who wanted nothing to do with either party and thought absolutely there is corruption and there is just party nonsense, putting party over country in both parties. We have never seen anything close to what the Republican Party is doing right now to America. And so and this is a dangerous thing, what it's going to leave us with is one party rule in the end. And that is the worst possible place to be. Even if that party is the one replacing the fascist regime. We can't have a one party system in America. Every place in the world we've had a one party system. It led to really bad things, really, really horrific things. So what we really need is Republicans to grow a pair of balls. Seriously, we need a decent, and there'll never be a good. We need decent human beings to stand up and take the party back, take the Republican Party back. How many are there any left? We don't know. That's the rant for this morning on the politics stuff. We are in a very, very dark place in America. The former president of the United States has declared war on the United States of America. Nobody's picked up a gun yet, but his thugs are out there inciting, calling to arms. And if you're part of it, you're my enemy because I'm not on the Trump train and I'm one of the people he's asking you to kill for him. You need to decide now if you're ready to cross that line. Kill your friends and neighbors. Kill your lifelong friends and neighbors for a stranger who has never done anything for you. That's what he's asking you. All right. I'll be done with that for now. We are brought to you, or we are on Governor's podcast, and it's imperative. I forgot to do this last week with the um, recovery from the podathon. Forgot to actually even go through the Gov stuff, but I think it's important to do that. Chrome tab. Let's go through what's happening at Govs. Uh, This week at Governors, and by the way, this is going to be a really busy week for me with the band and with solo gigs. But Governors will take the main room. Joe Sib on September. This is Labor Day weekend coming up, by the way. Joe Sib will be at the main room at Governors on September 2nd. And Tommy Gooch will be at Saturday night on September 3rd. That's the main room at Governors. Let's go back and see the Giggle Room. Governor's Giggle Room? We don't have that information up. I guess there's nothing this weekend at the Giggle Room. Wow, this is interesting. Nothing in the Giggle Room at all. Nothing on the patio this week. No, same stuff. Okay, so that's it in Levittown. Over in Bohemia, the stand-up showcase Gateway Comedy presents. Now this is Mike Dillon, who's been on the program as Gateway Comedy. Gateway Comedy presents stand-up showcase, which is the Best of Long Island comedy. That's all that's going on September 2nd. That's Friday night. Looks like they're going to be closed Saturday night. Very slow weekend at the comedy clubs, but it's probably normal for Labor Day weekend. Tommy Gooch, as I mentioned, is at the main room in Levittown on September 3rd. And that's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle of Governors this week, folks. Not a whole lot going on there. So, yeah. Paul J says I'm declaring war on the Long Island music scene. Bands need more money. Well, while I just don't disagree with you on that. I think what I'm seeing on that level, and just to change the subject a little bit, here on Long Island, we've always the Rockin' 45s when we started back at the turn of the century. um, we were determined to keep the band small, to keep the pay to the maximum, and I know most of the bands get paid the same thing, which is we're kind of on the outs with Tiki Joe's and the people who took over Cedar Beach Hut. You know those people, the Oakdale monopoly there. We're on the outs with them because we charge more, even though for a smaller band, we charge more than a lot of bands. Three times the size of the band. Now, what I'm seeing, just bands that just too many people in the band. Yeah, on that note, because I do play a lot of acoustic shows now, and it's hard to keep the band together when we're doing more acoustic shows than band shows. But the acoustic shows pay better. because it's less people, but not only less people, you charge more per person when you do smaller acts, two pieces, one piece. Um, so and trying to keep the band as small as possible. So I'm seeing a lot of bands that rely. They want to be really artistic. They want to rely on 9, 10 piece bands for the same money we get for a 4 piece band, or sometimes even less than what we get for just 4 pieces. And then they complain about the money. Well, here's the thing: it's a business. It's like anything else. There's only so much money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the venues aren't making hand over fist at some of these places. There's only so much money they've budgeted for entertainment for the bands. And if you're going to have a 12 piece band, 10 piece band, 9 piece band, even, and light show and sound man, and most of them, have this whole elaborate setup that they end up having to pay a lot of people for. So with the band, 9 piece band, sound man, light man, up to 11 pieces now, often the sound man gets paid more than the musicians do. You can't complain about the money if you're doing that kind of stuff. Now, 4 or 5 piece bands, yes, they deserve more than they've getting. They're still getting the same money we got 80s, 90s, not so much the 70s. I mean, when I was playing in bands in the late 70s, the average pay was about $100 a man for a 4 or 5 piece band. It's gone up a little bit, not a lot for that. But bands are not smart about merchandising and all that kind of stuff too. So there's all that kind of stuff that goes into it. But again, like this week, we'll be playing a major venue, one of the major venues at Catch Lindenhurst on Saturday night with the full band, just a 5 piece band, not like a giant band, a 5 piece band. We'll be getting paid. I mean, personally, about a third or almost even a quarter of what I'll be getting paid for Friday night, where I'm doing acoustic duo in Island Park. Acoustic duo, you know, it's not, in a way, it's not playing with the band. It doesn't give you all the energy that you're going to get with the band, but it does free you up to play whatever the hell you want. So for me, it's a, I don't know, a better experience for me. I hear what you're saying, Paul, declaring war on the music scenes. I don't think it's, and you've been to, uh, I guess Ohio with the tribute band you're playing with now. Is it better in other states? I don't think so. I think all around the country, it's bands get ripped off and the trick is a couple of tricks here. Keep the band as small as possible. Merchandise, merchandise, and add on to your revenue stream somehow. If even if that means recording and putting out stuff for sale that you take with you, T-shirts, all that kind of stuff. Merch is where it's at. Um, so that's where I'm gonna go. Who else is in the chat room? Kevin's in the chat room. Dancing Dean is in the chat room. Dancing Dean will be with me on Wednesday. I'm gonna be seeing, because last week, the Jerry Springer episode with me and Dean fighting over the Potisson thing, uh, did very well, and there was a lot of reaction to people. So I'm gonna see if I can just bust Dean's balls about his dancing the other night, because he did mention his dancing. We'll see if we can get some kind of Jerry Springer moment happening again with Dean this Wednesday. It should be interesting. Hopefully, it will be. Some people actually said the argument that Dean and I were having on last Wednesday seemed staged, like we were just, it was all just a put on. It wasn't. It was, and The thing is, even if we have differences, still love the guy. He's still a good guy, and I'm not gonna. At the end of the day, we're gonna walk away friends. It's just really, it's not serious, but it's not a put on either. Uh, at the end of the day, it's just all in good fun. And so Dean will be with me Wednesday. Tomorrow, Mark Masters will be with me. Have a light show for the evening programs this week. I think only two, maybe three. I have three. Three shows tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. Uh, and William Conway will be with me later in the week. We'll be talking about him coming to New York and doing some shows here. So that should be a fun thing. Let me see what some of these comments are. Back to Kevin. So many laws against protesters in red states in reaction to Antifa. Pet them riot. You can legally drive over them in okay now. I don't know what that means. Pet them. I don't know what that means. Kyle R. set a precedent. You can travel to a riot and help quash it. Yeah, well, Paul better not figure out how bad comedy scene is. Bands usually treated. Yeah, that's the other part of it. Um, Paul is. I agree completely that musicians are getting raped, but if you compare it to the way comedians get raped, it's again that's just so over the line crazy. Uh, Imagine not getting paid for years, getting totally disrespected. We don't think you're worthy of being paid for what you're doing. I know you bring people into our club. I know people are here to see you. We're not going to pay you. And you know what? We're going to charge you for a soft drink. We're going to charge you for drinking soda. Yeah, because we really don't feel like you're worth anything. And then Spotify actually saying that in direct language. We don't think comedians are worth paying, so we're not going to pay them. Imagine that. So as much as we bitch about the pay for musicians here, could be a lot worse. Could be a whole lot worse. The thing is, and they know this, the venues know this very clearly. If we decide not to take the gig, there's somebody else who will. So your negotiating point, and they don't care about quality. They care about families in the seats. So your negotiating point is very weak. If you say, well, we want more money or we're walking, I walk. We'll get, the kids down the block to play. Nobody will know us, and we'll make the same amount of money. And so fuck you. And so that's what we're up against. And listen, just I didn't know Paul at the time, but back in the early 2000s, I did form Long Island Musician Support Network and tried to use that as a way to get leverage for better job conditions for musicians. And there was no solidarity in that. There was no real interest. We got maybe 500 members joining, but nobody actually had a backbone to do anything about it and draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, um, to venue owners, we deserve this much, and uh, that's what we're going to get. Nobody had the solidarity for that. So if the venues know you can walk, and I'll replace you like that, what chances? So you're declaring war on Long Island music scene. You already lost because you know that the minute the first shots are fired, people are running away. You count on to be on your side. The people in the bunkers with you, the people in the trenches with you, are going to run away at the first sign of blood. So that's that. It's a war we can't win. William Conway's with us now. He said Dean probably does the dance with no pants because he never wears pants. Now you're looking for trouble. because that is one way to get Dean really make his temper fly. Is that he's telling him he's not wearing pants? Don't tell him he's not wearing pants. He was wearing yellow shorts. They look like boxer shorts. All right. He said when he's out, he dresses nice. Okay. He wears a the designer Fango flat cap on those nights. Uh, let's always assume I have a type. Me too. Dean got home from the party, stripped down naked, and did the yeah. Well, next time we need video on that. By the way, speaking of video, before I get to the next thing I want to talk about, been cutting up the Potathon clips. Some good stuff in there, some real gems in it. I'm just shortening it, making some shorter clips for people. I am going to be posting one today, but with all the equipment issues I've been having and upgrading the equipment here, it's been slow. My connection to the streaming services has been slow to get stuff up and published. I did publish about seven clips yesterday, or between Saturday night and Sunday night. I would appreciate it if you could share those. Today I'll be uh, posting one called "Issues with Doug and Shaley." Issues with Doug and Shaley. Basically, it was from the Potathon. Andy was on. Andy had no issues connecting. Brett was on. Brett Erickson was on, and no issues connecting. Doug, on his first leg of his tour in Grand Rapids, was trying to connect and had poor Wi-Fi. He was with Charlie, and they were coming in and out. So the episode is going to be called, the little clip is going to be called "Issues with Doug and Charlie." Very good stuff. I mean, Andy and Brett were pretty funny during the whole thing. I think I could have just excused myself and let those guys run with it for an hour and a half. Still have two more clips after that I need to edit and put up there, and then the whole thing is done. But I would appreciate if people share those around, let people know they're available. The one with Henry and Hack Oddity and Jackie Martling is pretty funny. The one with Erica is really, really good. I love Erica Rhodes. I mean, that's obvious to everybody right now. I think she's fabulous. I do think, and listen, I'm not a network guy. I'm not a television guy. I don't have television. But I do think if network television is going to make one last stand here before they're gone forever, sitcom for Erica Rhodes is a no-brainer for network execs. And I'll make the case here that she has what arguably the two most successful uh, sitcoms in the history of television had. She's a 30 something woman, single, understanding, like Mary Tyler Moore's situation. That was what that show was about. It was about a woman in her 30s trying to navigate through relationships and all that kind of stuff. Single woman uh, in her 30s. So she's got that. Then she's got the Seinfeld built in scripts, because Seinfeld's scripts were based off the stand-up he was doing. They would just take a bit that Jerry was doing in clubs and expand that into a script, and became very easy to write. So the concept of a show about nothing was really a show about nothing bits. And she's got that. I think she's, again, no brainer for networks to create Erica the sitcom. How do you make that pitch? Beyond me. Maybe put together a pilot. We did discuss the first episode. Brett kind of laid it out. Erickson kind of laid it out as we were having the discussion about some of the things that goes on. Said, well, he just wrote the first episode of Erica the sitcom. Um, maybe somebody should put some money behind that and create a pilot for it and pitch it. Because network executives just don't seem to be all that smart. I mean, listen, it's for me, in my opinion, network television, it doesn't have a lot of life left in it. We're seeing the end of network television with all the streaming services. I don't think the big three, ABC, NBC, and CBS. I don't think they'll be around 10, 15 years from now, maybe even less than that. But they do probably have one last big hurrah in them, as most empires do. So that would be it. Uh, what is William saying? I mean, to be fair, I also don't like to wear pants. Neither do I. I'm not wearing pants right now. I am wearing shorts, not yellow shorts like Dean wears. But did you know there's a comedy book called "Don't Wear Shorts on Stage"? No, that's one of my pet peeves too with bands, because in the summertime here on Long Island, a lot of beach gigs, a lot of guys show up wearing shorts on stage. What a turnoff that is to me. I mean, wear pants on stage. It's not that difficult. You don't have to rock star it up necessarily, but wear pants on stage. You go on there wearing shorts, it just looks like an amateur hour to me. It looks like a backyard party. Uh, so William Conway, I've broken this rule a number of times. I've also worn a suit. Basically, you never know what I'll be wearing. Yeah. Well, didn't you do a drag show last week in Albuquerque? Uh, there's a link to it. What you wearing? What, the suit or no pants? Um, but they also have streaming services. I don't know what you mean. Anyway, uh, Dean shorts are only yellow when he pees his pants because he's so high and starts coughing. No skinny jeans on stage. Oh, what? No shorts on stage. If you wear skinny jeans, whatever. Tight jeans, it's whatever. I'm not a prude about that. It's just shorts, and I show you images of guys, the Long Island bands that are going on stage wearing shorts. It's ridiculous. Um, this is Labor Day weekend coming up, and this is the end. This is the end. Uh, for me, it's a sad time. It's the last beach show is this weekend, and then it's beach venues don't necessarily close down. They go for a couple more weeks till the actual end of summer, but it's our last scheduled beach show, and it's a sad time for me because I love the beach shows, and when they're done, it generally means winter is on the way, and they are already stocking the stores and online merchandising with Halloween stuff. Won't be long before Thanksgiving is right behind. Listen, today is our 200th episode of Coffee with the Dog, by the way, which started last October. So I don't know what that means, but I'm just still looking at October coming down the pike here. When I started this um, last year, did not know Andy was getting ready to play Falcos. Did not know he had cancer at the time. That's how long it's been, and yet it's only been less than a year. Been through a lot in those 200 episodes. Uh, Big fan of Halloween, are you, William? I'm not. I'm not a big fan of Halloween. Never was. Not even as a kid. I don't know why. To me, it was always the Devil's Night. Where I came from, um, especially here, when I was a kid, Halloween was always a night of vicious stuff. A little girl I know who was 12 years old when I was 13 got raped on Halloween night. Lots of attacks with friends and kids getting just mugged basically on Halloween. It was just a really, I know it's supposed to be about mischief, but the mischief here on Long Island and in New York suburbs in general got carried away so bad. I mean, they were, you know, vandalizing houses and stuff, and not just toilet paper and eggs and shaving cream and that kind of stuff, but you know, real bad stuff. Never a big fan of Halloween, and I understand in some communities where people aren't just evil as fuck, it was more tame and more in good fun mischief. But where I grew up, it was always the devil night. A lot of bad things happen. So I still have that impression in my mind about Halloween. Where I am now, it's usually a quiet night, but I'm always still a little on edge, expecting bad things. Uh, um, I've been here for probably 125 or 150 of them. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I think that's probably right. I would say probably even more than 150, I would think. That's how the dog got started before he buried those chicks in the yard. I never buried any chicks in the yard. Just not guilty. Uh, William Conway, my wife and I got married on Halloween in the old Celtic way. We were hand fastened at sunset at beautiful sandstone bluffs. Well, that's nice and romantic. Were you whipped? I don't know what the old Celtic way entails, what that actually means. Um, as I mentioned, this is going to be a short one. Well, I'm only half an hour in. I'm already 40 minutes in almost. But I'm probably going to cut it short at 10 a.m. I did want to talk about AR-15s. Man, they love their AR-15s, don't they? Another mass shooting last night in Oregon. 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 I don't know how to pronounce that. Oregon. Um, another guy with an AR-15 opening up in a shopping center and killing people. What do you think is the common denominator here? I know obviously mental illness is a issue in it, but the gun of choice, you can't ignore the fact that almost every one of these AR-15, just every time there's a man shooting, AR-15. But the gun has nothing to do with it. The gun, right? This is the claim they're going to make. It has nothing to do with the gun. Well, if it has nothing to do with the gun, how come it's the same gun every fucking time? Can't restrict any rights to guns because the revolution had muskets. That's why. Because they wrote into a document a well-formed militia being necessary. That they wrote that into a document 250 years ago. So, hey, AR-15, baby. Need my AR-15. How much? And it got no coverage. This is where we are. Got no coverage. Mass shooting at a shopping center, automatic weapon. News doesn't have time for it. Or we just become so numb to it. It's just another one. It's just another one. Oh, yeah, at least it wasn't a school shooting. Move on. Next story. Welcome to America, folks. It's a bad place to be. Bad time to be in this place, and I don't know what the solutions are here because there's no compromise in anything anymore. We see everything as us versus them in politics. I don't know, and anybody who dares to propose a bipartisan solution to anything will be shot down, cut out by their party, ridiculed, seen as an enemy to the party, not to the country, to the people in America. No, it's all party above, and in that sense, both parties have that because you see, if any Democrat gives an inch towards the conservatives or Republicans. I don't even want. They're two different things right now. There's three different things. You got conservatives, Republicans, and Trumpism. Most Republicans are in with Trumpism. But if a Democrat gives an inch to any of those, they will get the same scorn as Liz Cheney gets from the Republican Party. She's a rhino. I guess they're Dinos now. Democrats in name only. So it's all about party, man. Party over country with everybody. And so we're never gonna get a solution to this gun issue. Basically, the only end to the gun problem is going to be if we can just shoot everybody dead, and so there's nobody left to argue over it. That's when we'll decide. Hey, you know what? Maybe those AR-15s. Maybe there was something to that. You know what? Maybe it wasn't just mental illness, because there are a lot of fucking mentally ill people who aren't picking up guns and shooting people. But if there's an AR-15 laying around, chances are some mentally ill person's going to pick it up and take it to a shopping mall or a school or a concert. There it is. More shootings. Yeah. Uh, yeah, because common sense is no longer common, we can't have reasonable solutions. Somehow the right is convinced they're the only ones with AR-15s. That's that's the part where right wingers shouting QAnon talking points about grooming kids, etc. Yeah, that is absolutely true. I know a lot of Democrats and people on the left who have lots of guns. The threats, again, coming back to the threats from people like Graham and Howley, I can't believe they're not locked up. Merrick Garland has no balls whatsoever. No balls whatsoever. He's intimidated. Uh, he's intimidated by the right. He's intimidated by their threats. He's intimidated by the thought, oh, they might riot. I don't know what is holding him back. But listen, again, Donald Trump declared war on the United States of America. He still walks free. Try doing that. Try doing that. Declare war on the United States of America and see how many minutes it takes for you to get a knock on your door from the FBI. See it. It would be a matter of seconds. But for some reason, he just does not have the balls to indict Donald Trump on a number of crimes. And we're going to have to wait on Georgia, the state of Georgia, doing it, indicting Trump, before the Department of Justice will. And I wonder if the Department of Justice will step in to protect Trump, because it's the middle of a election cycle. Everything's the middle of an election cycle in the United States. We're always never more than 1 year from election day. Even the day after election day, it's less than a year to the next election day. We're always in an election cycle. Now, they're not always midterms, not always presidential, but there's always an election cycle. If you're going to use that as an excuse for never indicting the powerful people, politicians, then you'll never indict anybody. And if there's law at all, it has to apply equally. Coming back, and I'm going to be saying goodbye soon. This is going to be a very short show today. To the Hunter Biden nonsense. Man, oh man. Well, I'm going to come back to Rogan saying just a month ago he didn't want to help Trump. He said that. I don't want to help that guy in any way. That's why he wasn't going to interview Trump. Wasn't going to have him on his podcast. So he decides to put out a clip which is extremely misleading, and he put it out with a narrative that was misleading. So people didn't even have to watch the clip. He told you He lied to you about what it said and put it out there with the intent of helping Trump. And it was complete bullshit. Now, I put out a rebuttal to that. I don't know where the fucking guys on the right, on the left, whose job it is to hold that shit in check and call it out. The David Doles, the Sam Cedars, the Kyle Kalinskis, the anybody, Glenn Kirshner's, dare I say, Rachel Maddow. People call this out, but I'm talking about the Zuckerberg thing, and I did a video on it, and basically, the Zuckerberg thing says in the interview, the FBI did not specifically ask Facebook to squash the Hunter Biden story. If, and you can look this up, Google it. Google it if you want to. The origins of the Hunter Biden laptop story. That story was all over the press, all over it. Every right wing media outlet was running with it day and night from 2019 when Rudy claimed it existed to when Rudy Giuliani came up with a hard drive that he claimed was an external drive, not on the laptop itself, but an external drive, and handed it over to the FBI that was in his possession before the FBI had it. And they wrote it up. And so nobody was squashing this. And the FBI confirmed the existence of the laptop, but could not and still cannot confirm chain of custody. And the forensics of the thing show that the hard drive was not only written, both hard drives, the internal hard drive and the external hard drive, they were written on. So they have emails that appear to have been authentic emails sent by Hunter Biden, but they could have been manufactured because they were the chain of command of this hard drive and the possible and in some terms probable hands that have had their uh, or groups of people who have had their hands on it before chain of custody, before it got to the FBI in Rudy Giuliani's possession, not the FBI's possession. He could have turned it over to the public at any time when he had it. He didn't. He claimed he knew what was on it, but he wasn't showing it. And now they're saying, well, 2 years later, oh, nobody knew about that story. It was quashed. The FBI quashed. No. If you look, go look at it. Look it up. Look it up. Wikipedia breaks it down pretty clearly. The origin of the story that takes you through it from April of 2019 right up to the election, November 2020. And the other important thing, who was in charge from April of 2019 up until January of 2021? Well, Donald Trump was president, and General Cover Up, William Barr, was the attorney general and the head of the FBI. And Christopher Wray, Trump's appointed head of the FBI, were in charge. So basically, the claim is, and this they don't even think this through, these fucking imbeciles. The claim is that Trump's own people, loyalists to him, were conspiring against him and he didn't know it. Really? Think about what they're claiming here. Trump's hand-picked people, loyalists, were conspiring against him and he didn't know it. But we want him as president again. That incompetent fool? I mean, really, if that's what they're saying, the people directly under him were conspiring against him, and he had no clue what was going on or was powerless to stop him. I thought this guy was such an omnipotent, tough guy, smart guy. You're claiming that his own people were conspiring against him, and he was either too stupid or too weak to do anything about it, and you want him back. Take a breath and think about that. If you're on the Trump train, take a breath and think about what you're saying. His people were the FBI. His people. And Barr clearly was ready to sacrifice himself to keep Donald Trump in office. He said that. Basically, what about your reputation? Everybody dies. That's what he said when he covered up the obstruction in the Mueller report. And that's clear now. 11 points on obstruction of justice. Barr fabricated those. He fabricated the excuse that Trump was exonerated. He was not exonerated. Every single one of those cases for obstruction of justice that Mueller laid out should have been prosecuted, should have been at least handed over for impeachment. Barr whitewashed the whole thing. This is the guy they're claiming was fixing the election for Joe Biden. I'll come back to this for a second. Joe Biden and the deep state. Joe Biden, who could not muster up any support against Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama. If Joe Biden was so in charge of and so powerful within the deep state, why couldn't he make a decent run for president in the primary in the Democratic election ever in his life? This is the guy you're claiming can bully the FBI into fixing an election for him. Well, if the Democrats were so in charge of the deep state, how did Trump win in 2016? How was it possible? If they could fix it in 2020, are you saying, again, take a deep breath here, Trumpers, because common sense is not your friend. You're saying the deep state, the Democrat run deep state, got stronger under Trump's administration. But he's your tough guy. He's your smart guy. He's the guy who's going to clean the swamp, drain the swamp. But the deep state got stronger and more emboldened under his administration. Are you feeling stupid yet? You should. You should feel very stupid. And I'm not just talking about the QAnon imbeciles who think JFK Jr. is coming back and all that stuff. The reality of your own argument makes absolutely no sense. Anyway, I'm going to look through some of these comments here. Ted Nagurski's with us. Good morning, Ted. Thanks, Doug. Totally agree. William said, Theodore Roosevelt said one question about his daughter, who was very wild at the time. I can either run the country or tend to Alice. I cannot do both. Very smart words, in my opinion. How about Vince McMahon, Ted Nugent, 2024 ticket? Boy, that would really get things. No. No, not that. Yeah, Ted, I shit my pants to get out of serving. Gung ho, Ted. No, no. I think that's probably worse than Trump. Believe it or not, I do think that. Well, yeah, I do think that's probably worse than Trump. Vince, the XFL guy. But and Vince is a corrupt bastard himself and deep in with organized crime for his entire career. And Nuge is just Nuge. He's just a uh, pitiful person. Really, really complete and stupid as the day is long. And may I say, one of the shittiest guitar players to ever have a successful career in music. There's a YouTube channel where a guy, and I don't know the guy's name. Music is, and It's a YouTube channel. And the guy actually uh, challenged Nugent to a guitar battle, playing Nugent songs, and basically Nugent punked out. He punked out because he knew he couldn't play him as well as his kid. And the guy, it started when Nugent was criticizing Joan Jett over something, and the guy was like, "Listen, Joan Jett was never, being a shredder was not what she was known for, and not what she was trying to be known for." Uh, but the fact that Nugent's argument against her was so ridiculous, this guy felt like he had to call Nugent out for his musicality. And listen, Nugent, if you see Nugent now, he couldn't make it. He couldn't get into a Nugent cover band. Now you could say he's old. I would definitely say, as a guitar player, when arthritis and age starts to work its way into your hands, it becomes more challenging. So you wouldn't expect a guy in his 70s to be able to play with a guy, compete with guys in their 20s and 30s or even 40s. You wouldn't expect it. But he was never all that good to begin with. But if you see him now, he just covers up his lack of ability with every effect in the book, and it's just noise. And you can tell that the guy has no dexterity whatsoever, and very little understanding of music theory. Not a good soloist, not a good player at all. Not a forget soloist. He's not a good player. Period. Uh, Facebook lost hundreds of millions of users in 16 for spreading false election info. They got caught doing it again in 20. They would have gone out of business if they got caught. Users wanted them to crack down. It's part of that. But also, Facebook and Zuckerberg says in the interview with Rogan that the FBI offered no guidance, zero guidance on how to identify misinformation and what steps to take about it. All of that came from Facebook, and they decided it was in their best interest to use third-party fact checkers, and they decided not to eliminate it or censor it, just not to push it. In other words, it was in the news feed, but it was not pushed so that people would passively see it in their news feed if they weren't hardcore political junkies. Other than that, people were free to post it, share it, talk about it. That's not censorship in any way. That's what Facebook decided to do on its own, free of the FBI involvement. So all that talk about, and things would have been different. That Newsmax came out with a poll. Well, 78% of people said they would have voted differently had they known about the Hunter Biden story. Again, the Hunter Biden story was available uh, to everyone, and everybody saw it constantly from April of 2019 through the election cycle. So to say that first people knew about it made no difference to them, and it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't what decided who they voted for, and it wasn't hidden from them in any single way. So that's a lie. And the whole bit about 78% of people said it would have changed their mind. Well, who the fuck did you poll? You polled Trump supporters, and if you only got 78% of them, that ought to tell you something. A lot of people, there are people within the Republican Party right now who are in private wanting Trump to disappear and take their party back. But they're afraid. They're like cowards, cowering, hoping somebody else does the work for them. Uh, and so that's that. Anyway, I'm going to end it here because I do have lots of things to take care of today. It's going to be a very short show. I hope you'll join me tomorrow. Uh, Mark Masters will be with me, comedian out of Colorado. He says he's the second cleanest comedian in Colorado. I'm going to do my best to get him to at least use some profanity, just a little bit of profanity, uh, just just to kind of take the edge off it. Like, do a shot with me, uh, curse a little, curse a little. Um, Not that I want to corrupt the man, and not that I can't appreciate clean comedy. Again, I'm a fan of Erica Rhodes. I'm a fan of Tom Papa. I'm a fan of some people who are relatively clean or very clean in their comedy. But on this show, I do have a reputation to keep up. And I do want some dirt. I do want some nastiness here. I can't have it too clean in my house. This is my house. Come here, you better be ready to drop an F bomb. I didn't drop an F bomb yet today, did I? Fuck. Can't believe that. Anyway, I'm gonna call it a day. Thanks for coming. I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is an interesting day for me, for a lot of reasons. Anyway, uh, thanks for coming. Turn on your radio, all that stuff. I got to get to the VA. Bye for now.
listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now.